As far as lifting the tank, if you're doing it yourself, you're probably going to want at least 3 other helpers, hopefully with some muscle. And the way we lift them is we actually put 2 bars on each side and we strap them together and kind of pinch it together and kind of do it like the Ark of the Covenant in the Bible. Lift it up that way, and it actually gives you the ability to lift it pretty high, and with 4 guys, 1 on each shoulder, lift it up and set it in that cement. Again, they're trying to finish it off here because of obvious reasons. You don't want to have to climb inside. That's what it should look like when you're all ready and feeling pretty strong. And not a real hard thing. You can go buy those bars at Home Depot, same thing, and a couple straps. And then all you have to do is hire a few people. That's what it'll look like as everybody's grunting and groaning and trying to figure out, not to step on a cactus and not to trip and fall in. And again, when you're doing that right there, as you can see, everybody's struggling a little bit, but with those pipes being any higher than that, you're not going to get that tank over that. And it's definitely not as fun to try and prop that up and lean it this way and just flop it into the cement. This actually is a cleaner set, so you don't actually mess up the cement as you're sliding into it. You'll get a better seal on the bottom of that and cause it to be a lot more watertight. Same thing, being very cautious on how they set that so they're not sliding sideways and messing that up. And pretty much once it's set in like that, you're also going to go around and tamp the wood and try and get it basically as level and as buttered up as you could so that the inside is sealed inside as well as the outside. Go ahead, same thing. These are some of the other tanks that are out there. These are a Bushman tank. It's actually a polyethylene plastic tank. It's got UV inhibitors inside of it. So those of you who don't want to do a lot of the cement work, these are an easy way, a little bit less expensive, that you can throw along your house. They come in a lot of different colors and different shapes. This one being kind of a unique shape that it's only about 25 inches thick and will fit under your eaves and not intrude on your walkways and stuff like that. Another freestanding cistern. I think the next few are just actually some examples of some of the things you can do for ideas in your yard. These are more of the slim ones where they hide them in the back, giving you the ability to sit behind your wall like that. Whereas if it was round, we wouldn't be able to fit it in there. Our guys showing off their muscles again, sorry about that. This is another example of what somebody did with their tank up in Mount Lemmon up here. They actually had it painted up by an artist in Nogales, I believe. The homeowners associations, we've had a lot of those actually lifting the restrictions here lately and allowing different tanks to be put in there as long as they're under walls or under certain height restrictions. This one happens to be next to a street, so all they asked was it to be screened. But the last month we've gotten into a lot of HOAs. I'm not sure which ones, if you guys are in any, but I know that Dove Mountain, the preserves, Robeson Homes down in Quail Creek, Saddlebrook, something like that. A lot of them are all lifting and changing all of those restrictions. This is a version from it from the side. Again, one of the advantages of that small skinny tank, being able to hide it next to the house and still have your drainage from the track homes going between the 2 other homes. This is one of the other creative ideas on how you can hide or screen your plant out of your tank. So I don't know if homeowners associations have actually approved that one yet, but it was creative. This is one of the same kind of tanks, but a little bit bigger, 600 gallon, and just another version of how you can put it against the house. This is just some of the ideas. If you're not going to do some tanks, there's different ways you can do it as far as some rain chains to be more decorative instead of having to do a gutter system, because some people just don't like the downspout look. Another one here. These actually are scuppers coming out of that top of the house. I'm sure a lot of you have those on the Southwest style homes. This is just a way to actually collect all 3 scuppers and take them all one direction to a tank instead of having to have lots of little downspouts going every which way. Go ahead, that's the same thing. This is a Slimline Pioneer urban tank. It's an Australian tank that comes in, but it's actually a corrugated one, but it's flat and thin as well, which has applications for things such as under a deck and a cabin up in the mountains. where space is really limited and you can't really put cement up there either. But they wanted that metal look as far as freezing goes. This is another picture of basically being able to capture all the scuppers going off your back porch and taking them to different sides of the house to actually collect the whole house, into those portions instead of having lots of little things. Especially when you get into a lot of these homes that have large overhangs like that, where there is no place to bring down a downspout, and there's no great way to stop that scupper from shooting down and tearing up a hole. This is one of the examples of what you could do. The house actually from this is about 200 feet away. So when you walk in his backyard, it looks like a tank standing there all by itself, being able to be filled by itself, and watering and maintaining that garden. Again, just some examples of how you can take those scuppers and bring them into the ground, make them disappear, and put them into tanks. I'm going to go ahead and stop there because I know that we're running out of time too, and I can keep going on with all these different examples. But when it comes to the installation side of it, there's really so many different ways to go. I can't really put a blanket fix on all of them. So usually each one of your houses is going to be a little bit unique on which way it points and what the landscape is. But bottom line, you should put some kind of a catchment in there, and definitely go with basins and stuff like Brad said, because all these tanks that you put in are going to fill up so fast and you're going to have the overflow. So now what are you doing with the overflow? Because you captured the roof, but the rest of your property is still putting out usually half again or more of the amount of rainfall that you're actually catching. And you might as well be storing that too. So,
Okay, I think I'm going to be the mom now. I'm going to tell you all the rules. First rule, climbing inside a tank, because once those stubs you split the tank over it, you do have to extend some of those to create overflow and stuff. That's basically confined space entry. You're taking your body and putting it in a small space with no ventilation. And you're typically using PVC glue or other nasty solvents. I mean, that can happen, right? There's no. It only lasts a second when you get out and feel kind of busy. Yeah, right, because you've been holding your breath. Yeah. Anyway, be careful about that. And I'm just going to talk a little bit now about the city's regulations, which are actually very much oriented towards earthworks, towards storage in the soil. This presentation basically talks about the commercial industry, and I'd like to get a sense here of, are there any commercial users in the room, people building big buildings and stuff? Yeah, okay. Maybe I'll just make some informal comments about water harvesting for residential users as I go along and move pretty quickly through the commercial stuff. Okay. Well, we know what the problem is. Brad already talked about that. There's some other problems Brad didn't address, and that's water quality coming off our urban environment and ending up in the washes and the rivers, carrying pollutants with it. So rainwater harvesting for the city is considered a best management practice for treating stormwater quality, and particularly intercepting the first flush of water off the urban environment and keeping it in the soil or water harvesting basins actually benefits the quality of water that ends up in our aquifer because it recharges through our washes. Also, we're finding as the urban environment gets more and more cemented over that the flood flows coming off of that create very spiky flood peaks. In the past, when it was all a dirt watershed, the floods would kind of start up, build up, and then taper off. Now it's coming shooting off this concrete environment, and it's a much taller peak, and it moves very quickly through the environment. So we have some problems with stormwater volume. Water harvesting can help to fix that. Okay. The solution then is collecting water, and because our urban environment now is sort of built like an upside-down cupcake pan, as Brad pointed out, a lot of mounds, subdivision houses are built on mounds, streets are mounds. We need to reverse that pattern and actually create much more depression storage in our environment. So if you think about turning a cupcake pan from upside down to right side up, it's a very simple pattern to keep in mind as you go forth and prepare water harvesting, and also keep your eye out as you walk around the urban environment and notice when you're seeing these water deflecting environments versus water catching environments. You can learn a lot just by looking closely at what's out there already.